So Halloween first came out in 1978, and it came out and was a huge success. And ever since, it has been just part of the season, and it's kind of amazing. And it's even more amazing that I hadn't seen the movie until probably like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it was, in my opinion, at the time, I didn't like it. And that's how I am sometimes with these kind of movies, to where I'll look at the movie and I'll see all the great reviews and I'll see that it's a classic, and then I will go and I will try out the movie. I'll be like, okay, I've heard about it for so long, let me just go try out the movie. It's got to be good. And then I watch it and the acting's not great. The script's not great. Honestly, if you had Leonardo DiCaprio performing these lines, he couldn't save the lines. The Cindy, this dog keeps. It's just like it's so bad. Like, and again, it's a classic. I really hate to hate on the movie, but the first time that I watched it, I did not like it at all. But it's one of those movies to where you watch it over and over and over again, and it's like that third or fourth time you start to get it. And it's almost like the bad portions of this movie are also its greatest strengths. So, what I love in this movie is that it's so simple. I mean, there's practically no story other than you have a psychopath who kills his sister and then just wants to keep on killing. He's the boogeyman, whatever that means. They never really go into it too much, and it's super vague and it's super simple. But it's like, again, that's just one of the things that makes it amazing. And I think that's ultimately, it's not like I've heard some people say that it's, it's a dissection of what evil truly is. And it's like, I don't think it is. Like, it's a very, very, very simple movie. And I think whenever people are putting it on at Halloween parties, in the Scream movie, Scream 1 in 1996, the reason why people just like to drink and watch this movie is because it's simple and it's fun. It's spooky. People are carving pumpkins. They're going out and dressing up as Star Wars characters and stuff, and it is like so Americana. It's like just such an American movie, and I think that's what people love about it. But for me, the reason why I love it so much today, definitely not whenever I first watched it, was like I said, it is simple and it's spooky, and it really embodies just Halloween, period. And to be honest, I think a lot of that is lost in our cinema preferences nowadays. For instance, I personally love Halloween Kills. I know it's like the most hated movie of all time, it seems like, but whenever I first saw that in theaters, I actually went back and saw it again. I usually don't see movies in theaters twice, but I loved it. And the reason why is because to me it captured what the original 1978 Halloween movie captured. And what that was exactly what you go to a Halloween movie for. You go to a Halloween movie to watch Michael Myers kill people. That's it. You don't watch for this, again, autopsy on how evil works in a society and how it changes the overall, oh, we're turning into monsters too. Like, that's about the only part of Halloween Kills that I don't like, is whenever they try to say too much. And they actually try to tell a story. But again, like it's the double-edged sword with these simple movies. Like, we love them because they're simple. I can go to any Halloween party, and yes, I can put on The Conjuring, right? And we can have a pretty good time watching The Conjuring, but what do you have to do? You have to sit down and you have to watch it, and you have to be like, oh, wait, so that's the mom, and okay, and that's the dad, oh, and then that's the girl, okay, and then she just, and like you have to track it. But then whenever you put on Halloween Kills, or the first Halloween movie, or again, some other dumb slasher movie, it's simple. You put it on, you could be playing beer pong in the back, or you could be chatting with your friends in the back, and then look over and, oh my gosh, a kill's happening. It's just so simple. And I think ultimately that's what is great about this movie, is that it is that, but then at the same time, especially for the time, it looks beautiful. The budget for this movie was $300,000, and it ended up making $47 million, which is in today's money $150 million, which is pretty crazy. Now, half that budget was spent just on the Panavision cameras, right? So that's the reason, that's one of the reasons why it looks great. But the other reason is, of course, because of John Carpenter. Those beautiful, beautiful shots of Michael in the background, whenever we see Laurie in the in the foreground, again, just ahead of its time. It's amazing. Whenever you look at movies that came out, especially horror movies, that was the thing. Either maybe a little bit too complex. There's a lot of, storylines and this and that, or it's way too simple, like a Friday the 13th movie. I'm shocked that Friday the 13th was so popular and kind of, was going head to head, especially with the sequels to the Halloween movies. But again, I'm much more of a Halloween fan than Friday the 13th. But other reasons why I really love this movie is because of the lack of gore, compared to the Friday the 13th movies. The lack of gore was great. Now in the later movies, they get a little bit more gory, but in the original, they were very, very restricted in their budget, which I personally think helped them a lot, because normally whenever you have so much money to play with, sometimes it can kind of be a double-edged sword. Sometimes, again, things drag out, but whenever you have to be creative and you have to make that budget last, it makes it way, way better. And then I also love how there is a lack of just over sexuality in the movie. Sure, it kind of created that thing that Scream touches on, where basically if the teenagers are having sex, then they're dying, basically. And there's a little bit of that in here, but it's not nearly on the level of, again, like the Friday the 13th movies, or like basically any modern day slasher movie. Something else that I love is how Halloween 1978, and then the second one to come out in the 80s, they really happen in less than 24 hours. So we're talking like two full films happen in less than 24 hours, which is like kind of crazy to think about. Kind of a similar thing happens with the new Halloween movies. But again, there's flashbacks and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at the Halloween 1 and 2, all happens in less than 24 hours, like just one day basically, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, then the bad of the movie. I would say that again, the acting and the script are horrible. Um, Now again, like the actual execution of these things, no pun intended, are great. Obviously, the direction is great, but man, like some of these lines are just so, so bad. I know again that it's like an older movie, but it's really, really cringy. But like again, I think it ages so, so well, because it's like, again, it's a perfect movie nowadays for someone who doesn't like horror movies, someone who doesn't like to be horrified. So I am going to give Halloween 1978 an A. And yeah, and honestly, the reason why I give this movie an A, and again, is because I guess like how I would say that I do my rating system is whatever the director, whatever the creative team was going for in their film, that is how I base the rating off of. So, for instance, if somebody like Steven Spielberg is going for a historical epic, tearjerker of a movie. He's going for a classic. He's going for an Oscar, and he comes out with Schindler's List. Hey, it's awesome. He did exactly what he needed to do. But then if the director of, like, let's say Napoleon Dynamite comes out and he wants to come out with a wacky, funny, awkward, high school movie, then he also gets an A because he came out with just the perfect movie in that subgenre, basically, of comedy. So even though, yeah, like technically we'll say Schindler's List was a better movie than Napoleon Dynamite, but I mean, both movies are like perfect in their own way. So that's the reason why I give kind of the grades that I do. But yes, I have Halloween traditions, and Halloween, of course, is part of my Halloween tradition. It has been for probably the past like 4, 5, 6 years, maybe. So actually, yeah, I might have actually watched this a little bit further back than I thought. But yeah, along with this, Coraline, Trick or Treat, and some other movies that I'll probably be reviewing later. But yes, thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.